me. It's unlocked. I was just investigating. Can you try to get in? Okay, there you are. Thank you. Thanks.
Here's Jeff.
Welcome. Yeah. There was, when I was trying to chat with Mary, I inadvertently locked the meeting.
Oh,
That's all right. Things happen.
you could have left it locked. We'd be all done by now.
We
Hey,
couldn't even
Richard?
get, Mary, we couldn't even get started.
Good
Okay,
evening, everybody.
We are
Morning, Richard.
recording.
Evening, Richard. Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, yeah, hey, Richard, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The issue up on Cohanza, up off, I guess it's Chambers Road. Isn't that the one, didn't that start like years ago?
I do believe there was a notice of violation issued previously that the applicant was made aware of.
Okay. All right. Yeah, 'cause I think it started back when, oh my gosh, I think it's gotta be like many years ago. Okay, regardless. All right.
Hi, Matt.
Matt, you're
You're
muted,
muted.
but you said hello. We could tell. I'm a lip reader now. I've been on Zoom.
Hi.
One of our applicants has not joined the meeting, but if he isn't here when we get to his application, I'll let you know, okay?
Right.
We are live on YouTube.
All set to go?
Mr. Chairman, you are set to open the meeting.
Fire
Thank
away.
you. Good evening and welcome to the Environmental Impact Commission meeting on February 23rd, 2022 at 7 o'clock. It's a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom. All votes will be by roll call. Members present, roll call. Dr. Mary,
Here,
Jeff Harold,
Yo,
Matt Rose,
Here.
and I'm here. We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes for February 2nd, 2020. Everyone but, let's see, everyone can vote except Jeff. Need a motion to accept them?
make a motion to accept them.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes from February 2nd, 2022. Dr. Mary,
Yes,
Matt Rose,
Aye.
Tony Gallo, minutes are accepted. I will
With
go
one
to the agenda.
abstention.
Okay. Let's start with old business, regulated activity 1152. Animal equities, anybody hear from them?
Nick Ushak is on the meeting.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mary. Nick Ushak here, registered landscape architect with CCA Engineering, 40 Old New Milford Road, Connecticut.
Did you see the summary ruling?
Yes, I did. I do have a copy of it and I reviewed it.
No problems?
I see no problems.
Okay, Richard, you're all set?
I'm all set. Yes, sir.
Okay, we need a motion to accept regulated activity 1152 with a summary ruling and 8 conditions.
I'll make that motion to accept 1152 summary ruling with the 8 conditions as specified in the report.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve it. Any remarks? Okay, Dr. Mary,
Yes.
Matt Rose,
Aye.
Jeff Harold,
Aye.
and myself. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is regular activity 1154. Gail and Jason Reiser, 18 Carroll Street. Richard, I think you had something to say on this.
Yes, so we do have Gail and Jason here with us tonight. Our last meeting we tabled because we did not have a plot plan or map of the proposed work. And then I did receive an email from Gail throughout the interim there, explaining that there were 2 additional trees that will need to come down. I do believe Gail and Jason have a presentation to show us tonight.
I sure do.
Okay, put it out there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I might share my screen, if that's all right.
Yes, I believe I enabled it, but let me double check that, Gail.
Thank you so much. I can.
Okay, good.
Great.
Okay.
So let's go. I do this for a living and you get to see my whole screen now.
Oh, good. Maybe you could teach me.
I'll happy to. So my job is I present evidence in court in a program called Trial Director, and I make PowerPoints and all that kind of stuff. So this is what I do for a living.
Perfect.
This is what I would like to propose and just give you a small little presentation. So I wanted to give you just a little perspective of my property and show you what the site survey is. So we had this done, I think, in May after we purchased the property. So right now this does show the current residence that is going to get torn down except for the one wall over here. And just to give you a perspective of a lot of the retaining walls that are here at the moment, most of them are going to have to get removed because they are not safe. One thing that I do want to point out on my site survey is over here. I assume you can see my mouse, correct? Yes.
Yep.
So
Yes.
in this area, and Richard was with me, there is just a drop off. There's no retaining wall. There's no anything. It's just a drop down the hill. And that's next to the retaining wall. So this really is just to give you a perspective of what my property is. Okay, this is a drawing from my builder, and this was done with the survey. So this does show the proposed new house on the property. I just wanted to point out that we do have a very large porch that's going to be there, and this piece over here is still within the 5 feet 1 inch of our what's called variance. Thank you. It's the word variance. Existing variance. So this one, I actually superimposed my proposed house onto the survey of the property. Again, just to give you a perspective of what we're going to be doing. It's not perfect, I want to point that out, but I just wanted to give a close perspective of what we're going to be doing. So I've broken down my presentation into 3 sections. Basically, the dead trees that I had already proposed that we're going to remove, the alive trees that we've already proposed that are going to be removed, and then just the new challenges of the new trees. And there's twice I'm going to ask you to just put a pin in that, because at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you the perspective of what we had not taken into account. And I just want to go in order so you can see from the side of the house all the way around the house. So this first picture, I have the site survey on the right side, so you can see approximately where the trees are on my property. So these trees were already presented in the paperwork that I had submitted originally. And you can see on the right here, they're really to the right and the side of my property. They're both dead hemlocks, and they do need to go. They're dead and they're dangerous. This one, and this is where comes in the 2 sort of new trees that had come to our attention. The picture on the left shows the original picture that I had submitted with my paperwork. And on the right is just a close up and a better picture that's not at 6 o'clock in the evening. So you can have a better perspective. And then of course, on the right side, you can see I've put approximately on my survey as to where the trees are, which is right over here. So if you look, the red one, that's a dead hemlock. That's this one right here. The small bushy yellow is this tree right here, which is dying. This one is one of the ones that I had emailed Richard about. It should stay if it wasn't in the way of any kind of construction or retaining wall work that we had to do. This is another dead hemlock that needs to be removed. And this is also one that should stay if it wasn't in the way. Again, on the survey, you can see approximately where they are. And what nobody actually took into account as we were discussing all of these trees, and really the two trees that are in question, is the scope and the slope of the back of our house and the back of the property. So this is where I'm going to ask you to just put a pin in it as I walk around the rest of the property, and then we're going to go back and show you the perspective from the bottom of the hill that nobody took into account. This tree is in the back. This is also dying, so this one's going to be removed. This just shows you with the line and without. I just wanted to give you the full perspective. And then on my survey shows you approximately where it is, more to the left of my property. In the back of the house, I've got this monster tree that is deader than dead. It's actually on my neighbor's property, and I do have written consent from them to remove the tree, but it is literally hanging over my property. And I think Richard will tell you it's a pretty scary looking tree. But it is on my neighbor's property, and I do have written permission from them to remove that, as well as Lake Wabeeka. So those are the trees that are dead. These are the trees. There's only, I think, 4 trees that are in the way of construction. So originally, when I had submitted my proposal, this picture is one that I had submitted. And this is just a much clearer picture of it. Just looking at my notes, thank you. So you can see these two here are these 2 trees over here, which is the first X here on the left side. So they're right next to the house, and it's going to be just in the way of construction. The second tree also, you know, we're sad that we would have to take it down, but it's disappointing, but it will be right in the way of either a driveway or septic system or something. And again, that shows about right here on our, actually, you know what? I believe it's actually more over here. I apologize. This is wrong. I believe it's right over here where the word lot is, but about over here. I apologize. I put the wrong X in. But that still gives you an idea. I also wanted to show this to you because this is the first really good look we're getting to the disrepair of the retaining walls and the disrepair and the everything all around our property. And as I had said the first time, the property has not been lived in well more than 10 years, and there's been no maintenance at all on the grounds, trees, inside, outside, anything. The next house, this is the last tree that I had to discuss, which is literally in the middle of the house. And again, unfortunately, I can't build a house around a tree. It'd be pretty, but probably not work. And then I also wanted to point out, I have a really bad bamboo problem. The previous owner, Eddie, before he passed away, again, over 10 years, he decided it would be really great to plant a whole bunch of bamboo on the property. So it's been, you know, unrestrained for over 10 years. And it's also now starting to grow in the back. And I don't know if I have a picture of the bamboo in the back of the house right by the water line. But again, you know, it's really important to us to remove it and fix, say it again? And it's a very invasive species. So we know, and it's absolutely not allowed to be planted. So we've, over the last summer, by the way, we paid a landscaper. He just came in and just cut it down. And of course, within, you know, weeks, it grew back again. So we know we have to probably dig this whole entire piece out here just to get all of this bamboo out. And then as you see on our survey, the X here is where the tree is in the middle of the house. And this is approximately where the bamboo is, at least in the front of the house. So this is the next point of what I really wanted to discuss and what I had emailed Richard about. The retaining walls, the boulder issues, and all the stuff that's going on in the back of the house that nobody actually looked at when we were all looking at the trees. So this is from the side of the house, and it gives you, it's a little bit closer than the other picture. The two trees that are going to be removed in the way of construction are over here on the left side of the house. So this gives you a really good idea in the back of the house, what we're dealing with the trees growing into the retaining walls, the disrepair and just not well-made retaining walls to begin with. The trees here that are just growing in the middle of all of this. So I just wanted to show this to you as a perspective. This one, then this is where we really get into where I had asked you to put a pin in it. So over here, first off, you can see there's garbage back here. You know, there's a garbage, there's branches, there's been no maintenance whatsoever. About around this area is where that 5 grove of trees are. And you can see from here in this perspective, how it's growing into the boulders, into the retaining walls. So we're really concerned about garbage, preserving the lake and preventing the debris. But the most important thing to us is that more trees don't die, fall into the lake, and also, you know, the erosion of what's going on here because there's been no maintenance at all. We also have a lot of safety concerns. So we want to make sure that boulders, rocks, trees, everything doesn't fall into the lake during a storm or whatever it is, because it's all unstable. So we want to make sure that everything back here is made stable, rebuild retaining walls as needed, and fix everything to make sure that we have no erosion and no problems. So that's why I wanted to show you this picture, but again, like garbage, etc. This is just another picture. I just wanted to put the two of them together of that grove of trees that I had showed you before to put a pin in. And then that same picture I just showed you, which shows, you know, the trees growing into all of these rocks, growing into the retaining walls. And the issue that we have that nobody saw, because we were all looking at it from the top, looking down, nobody actually walked down to the water to look at this. So the most important thing to us is the mitigation of removing the trees and anything else that has to be removed over there. So we tried to speak to 2 landscape architects. And even in the 2 weeks that we had, nobody had availability to really even speak to us or make any kind of recommendations. So we did do a lot of research. First off, our builder is the same builder as somebody who built a house on the opposite side of the lake on the water with a very similar property line. They recommended a landscape architect who we spoke to, but they didn't have time. They were actually on vacation. And he actually recommended somebody else who's very familiar with the lake, the wetlands, the soil erosion, and all the EPA issues with the state of Connecticut and Lake Wabika, frankly. So, again,
Also not available.
also nobody was available. So I took it upon myself just to do a little bit of research and to see what Connecticut actually said that they like to see native growing and native garden plants. So for example, you know, inkberry, Christmas ferns, this is covered by my, there we go, mountain laurel. So, you know, we know that there are a lot of plants and trees that Connecticut loves to see planted. Also, I did a little research just to see, you know, kinds of plants that are good for erosion control, periwinkle, forsythia, etc. So we know that there's a lot of things that we can plant, and we are committed to working with a landscape architect to making sure that whatever we rebuild as far as retaining walls or whatever it might be, that we mitigate what we're taking out. But this is really what I wanted to show you, my last slide. This is, again, the proposed house that we're going to be putting up. And this is very rudimentary, and it's just an idea. Because frankly, until the house hasn't even been taken down. So until we take down the house, we just don't know what the new retaining walls are going to look like. We don't know what the property is going to look like. However, one of the things we do know, and I discussed this with Richard, is on the east side of our property, we have 48 feet of property on that side. And just as a little research, I looked at arborvitae, I can't pronounce it. Arborvitae, for example, we know that we can plant them every 2 to 3 feet. We know that they grow to at least 20 or 30 feet. And we know on that 40 feet, we should be able to plant at least 10 of them. And I think we're taking down about 10 trees dead and alive, maybe 12 dead and alive. So we know that planting a lot of trees on that side not only gives us privacy from the other property, but we know that, you know, this is a drain in this area over here. So capturing all of that land again keeps a lot of the erosion from going down this ramp. Because I could go back, there's a ramp over there. So we want to make sure that the least amount of water and debris and erosion happens. So if we plant a whole bunch of trees over there, we know we're doing a good thing for the lake. And then just again, as an idea, you know, we're going to put in retaining walls. We're going to fix what's back there that's never been maintained. We're going to plant the Christmas ferns and the, you know, different things. We're going to put them on the retaining walls, in between the retaining walls. Of course, in the front of the house, we want to plant things that we know are good for the lake and to help, you know, mitigate the trees that we're taking down and help mitigate all the soil erosion. So I think that really is everything. Yeah. So the takeaway really is that we want to protect the lake from soil erosion and debris. That is our number one concern. So I'll stop sharing. Thank you. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Hey, thank you, Richard.
Two things. First, for the commission, it is known in Connecticut that running bamboo, which I do believe is what's on that property, it is very invasive, and anytime it is identified, the health department does have the jurisdiction to go in there and make it get taken out of there. On top of that, so I think, as Gail has pointed out, her mitigation for this administrative approval application would come at a second time when she comes for the house itself, which would be a regulated activity. Is that correct, Gail?
I don't understand the question. I apologize.
Yep. So right now we're here for the administrative approval of the removal of trees.
Yes.
And as in order to mitigate that, you're going to propose later on when the house is ready to be built. The mitigation will be attached for that regulated activity.
Yes, we'll talk to a landscape architect and get a good idea. And then once the house is built and we have a better idea of what actually we have on the property, we will finalize that 100%. But obviously we can't build the house until we remove the trees.
Right. Okay, thank you.
What are you proposing, Richard?
I think the trees can definitely be administrative approval pending regulated activity application at the time of the house being built and you know, approved with the mitigation tied in on that regulated activity application.
So right now you need administrative approval to take the trees down.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
sir.
correct.
So we need a motion on regulated activity 1154 for the administrative approval to remove the trees.
I'll make the motion. Regulated activity 1154 to allow removal of the trees as specified in this presentation, in the plan.
Here a second.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the removal of these trees with administrative approval. Any remarks? Roll call vote. Dr. Mary,
Yes.
Jeff Harold,
Yes,
Matt Rose,
Aye.
and the chairman votes yes. Motion carries. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very
you so
much
much
for your time.
time.
We really appreciate it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I I have the next applicant on the telephone. I have to walk him through getting on the meeting. Can we pause for a moment?
Sure.
All right, thank you. I'm going to mute myself. Just a minute.
I do have one quick question. Just, do we get some sort of paperwork or you? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And if anybody needs help with Zoom, please let me know. I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Gail.
Bye-bye.
You're in. Okay, I'll let them know. Thank you. Mr. Gallo, Aaron Weiner has joined the meeting. He is representing the applicant for 66 Chambers Road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to present something? Mr. Waiter, okay. You going to present us with something or?
Aaron's still muted.
Aaron, you're muted.
Aaron, you're still muted, buddy. Turn off the mute upper right side or lower left, depending on which screen you have.
See it? Okay. How about now?
There
There you go.
All right. Did it. Do I start or is somebody going to ask me a question?
You
What
should
are you
start.
proposing? What are you proposing to do?
Okay. So the proposal is to construct a what I would call a farmer's wall out of native fieldstone material on the property at Chambers Road. The location is about 250 feet from the water body. Previous to these owners owning the property, I guess a former owner had done some clearing of the land, which I understand was somewhat of a violation. This project involves zero changing of any vegetation, any trees whatsoever. The intention is to create a level playing field for their children to play on what is now a pretty steeply sloped, kind of a grassy area just below their existing swimming pool. So the project involves making this wall about 4 feet high, 3.5 to 4 feet high, 60 feet across the slope, and then bringing in some fill and topsoil and seeding it to make a lawn for a play area. I'll pause for a second in case there's any questions, but that's in the nuts and bolts of the project.
Richard, you have a question for this?
I do. You stated 250 feet. I thought it was a little bit closer.
Yeah, so there was I think when I talked to you, Richard, I think you and I corresponded. Since that time, primarily for a budget reason, they actually brought the wall closer to their property because of the amount of fill we needed. There was a budget issue, so we actually moved it about 15 feet further uphill, further from the water, just because it involved a lot less importing of material, and thus the project budget decreased. So yeah, it did change from that.
Gotcha. So it is further away from the water's edge.
Yes, it's further from the water, exactly.
Okay.
And there are some flags now. I don't know if some of you are going to visit it, but there are some flags showing the proposed location of the wall.
Gotcha. And any wall that is over 3 feet does need to be reviewed
Mhm.
through. That's just so you're aware of that. But I do think, Commissioner, Chairman, if it's okay with you, I suggest to table this. I would like to speak with Mr. Weiner to determine, just how far away from the water's edge we are. Because if we're outside of 200 feet, then it is outside of EIC's jurisdiction.
Okay, what you're requesting is a motion to table?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion to table. The next meeting enough, Richard?
Yep, absolutely.
Table to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is when, Mary? I'm sorry.
March 9th. March 9th.
9 March. Right.
For a second,
Second.
motion made and seconded to table regular activity 1155 until our next meeting on March 9th, 2022. Roll call vote. Dr. Mary,
Yes.
Jeff Harold,
Yes.
Matt Rose,
Aye.
and myself. Motion carries. Thank you.
Aaron, we'll be in contact, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Next time, item on the agenda is a violation. We had brought it up at the last meeting, and what they're going to do to correct it is still in process. But we have Paul here, who is the engineer on the project. He's going to give you a little heads up on what it actually is. It's on 21A Virginia Avenue. Paul?
Good evening. Yeah, good evening for the record. Paul Szymanski, representing Mr. Cote. The subject property is located at 21A Virginia Avenue. Mr. Cote had retained a contractor at his expense initially to fill his backyard. The subject property consists of a conservation easement. There was fill not only in his property that was in the unencumbered area, but also a large amount of fill within the conservation easement area as well, and certainly within the regulated area and directly adjacent to wetlands. I met on site with Chairman Gallo, Richard, and Sean from zoning. What we are proposing to do is immediately get erosion control measures installed on the site, including at the top of all slopes, so that there'll be no more erosion towards or into the wetlands. We're going to create an existing conditions map as it was prior to filling by using historical topography. We're going to go shoot topography as it exists today so that we will be able to show the commission both the grades that they were prior to filling and post filling. And then we will be working towards a remediation plan to stabilize slopes, take care of runoff from the subject property, as well as a large amount of runoff that comes off the public road, and revegetating in a complete manner the conservation easement, providing permanent monumentation and anything else that may be required, including testing of the soil to ensure that there's no contaminants in it, such as asbestos, petroleum hydrocarbons, lead, things of that nature.
Paul, do you have any idea how much fill there was roughly, so that the commission members would know?
We're talking in the thousands of yards. Once I am able to get the topography both prior and after, I'm going to do I typically say a cut and fill analysis, but in this case, there is no cut. It's solely fill. So I'll be able to give you guys a grid map showing the approximate fill on like a 10-foot grid pattern so we can see.
Richard, did you want to add anything to this?
No, there's quite a bit of fill out there. It is important that we stabilize it immediately. We did notice there was some erosion and runoff into the water course. So I think Paul and Attorney Beecher's plan to stabilize it immediately is important.
You won't believe the fill that's there if you go out there. What do you think, Richard? 12 feet? Higher, maybe 20 feet?
Significantly higher. I will say, so we're standing at the top of it. We're able to look directly across and see we're over the roofs of the other houses.
So that's all we have
It's
to.
likely 12 to 15 feet.
Attorney Beecher would like this continued until March. What's the fourth Wednesday, the 23rd?
23rd.
It's just a hearing right now on an NOV. But they need time to regroup and look at this thing, and Paul's going to come up with some sort of plan. It's probably going to cost a guy a fortune to do it, but we don't even know if the soil he brought in is good or not. It has to be checked, So the way it stands right now, anybody have any questions? If not, I'm just going to continue the hearing until March 23rd, at which time we could possibly have a plan of sorts. The attorney will be here, Attorney Beecher. No one has any questions on it? We'll move on. Somebody coming in?
Not that I can tell. Mr. Chairman, will there be a motion for this continuance?
I don't, we could make one. Someone want to make a motion to continue this hearing till the 23rd of March, please?
So moved.
Second,
Aye. So
motion made and
second.
seconded. We continue the hearing on the 23rd. Roll call vote, Dr. Mary,
Yes.
Jeff Harold,
Aye.
Matt Rose,
Aye.
and myself. Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for coming.
If I might add something real quick, if any of the commissioners do want to come out and see it, please just let me know. I do have to, coordinate with Attorney Beecher on that.
Bring your boots. It's solid mud, really. You're walking through the mud. It's crazy. Okay, next item is correspondence. I will assume everyone has a copy. Last item on the agenda is,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
a second.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made and second to adjourn. Any remarks, questions? Roll call vote. Dr. Mary,
Yes.
Jeff Harold.
I'm thinking about it. Aye.
Okay, you can stay. Matt Rose,
Aye.
myself. Motion is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you, everyone. Good
Hey,
night.
Mary, I
Yeah.
think one meeting next month, I'm not going to be here. I'll have to let you know.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep,
Take
thanks.
care.
See ya.
You're- Bye.
Mary, thanks for everything.